अनाभूति अहंकार चित्यानि न च श्रोत्रो जिह्वे न च घ्राणेन्द्रिये न च भूमिः भौमो न तेजो न वायु चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न च प्राणसङ्गो न वै पञ्चवायु न वा सप्तधातु न वा पञ्चकोशा न वा पाणिपादौ न च वास्तवायु चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे द्वेषरागो न मे लोभो मोहो वादनैव मे नैरमात्सर्यभावः न धर्मो न च अर्थो न कामो न मोक्षो चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न पुण्यं न पापं न सुखं न दुःखं न मन्त्र न तीर्थ न वेद न यज्ञ अहं भोजनं नैव भोजं न भोक्ता चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे तु न शङ्का न मे जातिभेद पिता नैव मे नैव माता न जन्म न बन्धु न मित्रं गुरु नैव शिष्यो अनन्तरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्द शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं अहं निर्विकारो निराकाररूपम् विभूत्याच सर्वत्र सर्वैन्द्रियाणाम् न च संगतं नैव मुक्तिनमेय चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः
আমরা এখন চ্যান্টিং করবো, বেদিক চ্যান্টিং, বেদমন্ত্র পাঠ করবো, সবাই পার্টিসিপেট করুন। ওম ধর্মেণাসি প্রতিষ্ঠিতা মনোমে বাচে প্রতিষ্ঠিতা
मनोषि प्रतिष्ठिता मनविवाचि प्रतिष्ठिताम् वेदशमानिषः श्रुतं मे
अनेनोदितेन अहोरात्रां संददामि चित्तं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
रीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
मगतो तद्वक्तारमगतो
आत्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम्
ओम शांति शांति शांति
ओम शांति शांति शांति
ओम आपयन्तु मम अंगानि वा प्राणः चक्षुः
ओम अभयन्तु मम अंगानि प्राणचक्षुः
श्रोत्रमातः बलमिन्द्रियाणि सर्वाणि
श्रोत्रमतः शर्वाणि
सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदाम्
सर्वं
ब्रह्मो निरकुर्यात् माम ब्रह्मो निरकरो
माहं ब्रह्म निरकुर्यात् मम ब्रह्म निरकरोत्
अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु
निराकरमस्तु निराकरं मे अस्तु
नमस्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु
धर्मते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु
शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात्
ॐ पूर्णमादः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णमुदच्यते
पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
पूर्णशः पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते
शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ सवनो भवतु सवनो भुनक्तु
ॐ सहनो भुनक्तु वीर्यं करवावहै
तेजस्विनो अधितमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
तेजस्विनो अधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्नो मित्रः शान्गुरुणः शान्नो भगवति आर्यमः
ॐ शाम्नमित्रः शाम्वरुणः शाम्नभवति हरियुमा
बृहस्पतिः शाम्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः
शाम्न इन्द्रियः बृहस्पतिः शाम्न विष्णु उरुक्रमः
ब्रह्मणे नमः ते वायु
नमः ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायुः
तमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि
तमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मयसि
प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
तमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
सत्यं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
सत्यं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
मामवतु तद्वक्तारामवतु
तत्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु
अवतु मामवतु वक्ताराम्
अवतु मामवतु वक्तारम्
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृण्वाम देवा
भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवा
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः
शिवयाङ्गैतुष्मांशतनुभिः
स्थिरोयाङ्गैः तुष्टुवांशतनुभिः
devahitam yatayu.
वसीमादिपुनीतं यदायु
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
ॐ
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
We're now going to start today's program. আমরা আজকে আমাদের আলোচনা শুরু করছি। আজকের আলোচনার পর্ব ব্রহ্মোপলব্ধি 997 এটি ডিজিটাল সানডে পর্বে 289 ডিজিটাল সানডে টক। টুডে ইটস 21st সেপ্টেম্বর, আজ 21শে সেপ্টেম্বর 2025। আজকের প্রসঙ্গ ভারত আত্মা। The discussion topic for today is the Bharat Atma, or the self of India, or the soul of India. For some reason, today I'm going to talk mostly in English, and I'll do some elaborations in Bengali from time to time. The soul of India, or the Indian self, or the message of India, the essential message of India is very important for anyone in India to understand. Whatever culture and whatever faith she or he belongs to, it's very important to understand India. There was one mentioning by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose long back during the early period of Second World War last century, that India freed means humanity saved. He had formed government in exile, the government of India in exile, and had declared the freedom of India on 21st October 1943. And that was the real moment of India's announcing the freedom for the nation. The flag was vested, and then the army that he had formed had the privilege of having attained some land of India, and with the support of a large number of Indians having joined the forces, particularly the women having joined the forces in the name of Jhansi Rani Bahini, Jhansi Rani Regiment. So that message was taken from the other spiritual soul of India, spiritual selves of India, and legendary people from India. Sri Aurobindo also had believed in the consciousness, in the being of India. We shall begin with the one letter which was written in answer to our devotees' letter by Sri Aurobindo. A part of that, a small segment of that I mentioned. It is only the rising forward of higher consciousness beyond the mental light that man can emerge from his inability and his ignorance. His full reversion and enlightenment will come only when he crosses the line into the light of our new superconscious existence. That is the transcendence which was the object of aspiration of the mysteries and the spiritual truth. So the point is emergence. Now, what were uh, the goal of this emergence? That becomes very important. The goal of emergence, as identified by the ancient Indians, is very important. This has been mentioned squarely by many scholars from India, many spiritual personalities from India. But at the same time, it has been echoed by many people from the Western scholar, Western faith, Western civilization, and also by many people from the Indian soil in a way that was actually carried forward in the moment when it was required to be carried forward, to carry it forward. I just mentioned about four verses which were there in the Rig Vedas, original Greek Vedas in the early period of India's Vedic civilization, which has been mentioned by Western, particularly the British scholars in the early period of last century as having been just, around the Harappan civilization and most likely, most probably after the Harappan civilization. However, other scholars have come forward, leading of whom the one of the British functionary who had a discord with the British authorities and had established his own view about the India's civilization. And Marshall had written that the civilization which was uncovered from beneath the soil in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro's areas dates back to, and from that point of time, even from now, the marginal differences in 1 century only dates back to around 6,000 years from now, and uh, that has been depicted. The kind of thing has been the artifacts and relics of the things that have been identified. It is kind of a city. It's a large area, a very large area, which could accommodate thousands of people. And they had a kind of description. For example, they had a collective living, meaning a common place of having their bath. At that point of time, there was no system of shower. It was having their bath from the wells digged in and the water taken from the wells, and then the common place of collective eating, collective living, common place in a large place where many people together could live, and also the common place of transactions and the living of life. And around there were places which were assumed at that point of time to have been the fields for agriculture, and also amazingly there were some relics which were found, some artifacts which were there, stone bit and some wooden also, which were there, carved out as the figures, and there was a language prevailing also. One lady, she's originally from the other side of the divided India, western side of divided India, and she did her Joshua Vidula, and she has discovered initiated the discovery of reading the language which they used to live in. So Harappan language, deciphering the language to some extent, and now the scientific methods have been applied to understand the language. Now, all these things reveal, Marshall had commented saying that such a mature civilization cannot grow overnight. Such a mature civilization requires fundamental belief and fundamental, common belief among many people, not just a few people, among many people or most people, across which they have developed their livelihood and the things of life. And they have developed artifacts, they have developed things, they have created their works, and the relics that are there, the artifacts which are left behind, for some reason, some kind of destruction had occurred, maybe climatic earthquake or some kind of climatic, so which has resulted in the abolition of the civilization in the large part of the, and some trace of that has been identified much later, just prior to this, actually in central India and now central India. And there are a lot of similarities between the Harappan depiction and the things found in central India. So this shows that there was a very large area. It is almost, throughout the length and breadth of India before partition, and even before that, the United India at one point of time. And that civilization had a commonness, had a common thing. So this is there, in the Vedas in the form of philosophy. The philosophy, as identified the sages of the Rig Veda, says, Sang Samaha Ita Yubase Vrishana Agne Vishwani Aryaha Ya Vidaspadehe Samaidhyase Sahano Vasunya Bharaha. This is the first verse which talks about the fraternity. Shavindo has quoted this in his, you know, the human cycle, and he has mentioned that this is actually a triple gospel of humanity. Very correctly, he has mentioned it as triple gospel of humanity. And in this, he says there is a religion of humanity and religion of human unity, which is a non-religion. It's a spirituality, not just a religion. It's a spiritual doctrine for human civilization, for humanity, which rises above the ritualistic form of the religion or ritualistic aspects of the religions. It says equality, liberty, and fraternity. These three are there. Yes. So let's take the meaning of this first word. Sang samaha ita yuvashe brishana agne vishwani arya yaha vidaspadehe sama ityase sahana vashunya bhara. It says, let us have equality spread across throughout the world. The resources of this world all belong to the resources created by the Creator, the God Supreme. His creation of the lives, human being at the center, has got the equal right to the entire resources that are there. And let there be the fire in the intrinsics of every human being to understand and recognize the sense of equality and the spirit of equality. So this first verse, this is in Rig Veda's 10th mandala, verse 191 by 1, meaning the first verse under 191. Anyone who has got an interest can get into that. Even Max Muller has translated this to be the verse of equality. Nobody can deviate from, and even his translation was in tune with that. Now, this is the resources of this entire creation is the resources created by the divine, and also on the other hand, the lives created by the divine. Therefore, the equal right of the resources throughout the world having created have got the equal right at the nuclear level, at the elemental level for each individual in this creation, on this earth. And the fire of inspiration, the fire of the urgent eagerness to form that equality, to create that equality. So the sage is praying to God that you ignite that fire among the individuals in the heart of people, so that the individuals can play a role in this understanding of the equality of rights on the resources which are there in the entire world. So theory of equality, as Shavinder has mentioned, I'll read out what he has exactly mentioned. Let us take the second one. The second one says, Sam gachudvang, sam vadudvang, sam go manamsi janatam, Eva bhagaha yatha purve sanjananaha upasate. It says that in order to prove and in order to establish the equality among all individuals on earth, let us proceed forward with joining hands to each other. Let us think in the same line of thinking. Let us aspire to create a unity among all the souls. Let us try to understand the truth which has been felt by the Supreme Divine on earth, and let us expect and pray to beget the inspiration from the Divine to establish the supreme equality among all individuals on earth. This is the second verse of equality. Nowhere in the first verse or in the second verse of equality has been mentioned about any segment of human beings, any identity of human being, any other identity of individuals. For example, there is no national division. There is no division across the countries, nations, races, religions, caste, creed, color of skin, color of things, other belief, anything. No mentioning of those things at all. So this is a theory of equality, one, theory of equality, two, according to the Vedic principles as identified by the Rig Vedic sages in the earliest period of human civilization. Third, samani mantraha samitihi samani. Samanang manaha sahachittam esham. Samanang mantrang abhimantaye vaha. Samaneno vaha havisha juhomi. This verse, this is 10 by 191 by 3 in Rig Vedas. This verse I had, based on this verse in my San Francisco talk on the Buddhist economic principles, to show that the origin of these economic principles are there in the Rig Vedas. And from there it has been drawn as a theory of equality and the theory of equality within the organization. Now, when the sages are saying samani mantraha akuti samaneno samani mantraha akuti samani samiti, this does not mean that you create differentiated organizations. It says that when you form for example, in the modern organization, we have got the hierarchy. The Japanese scholars do claim that they have mentioned the hierarchy clash theory in management for the first time. I respect all those scholars, but I am saying with a firm conviction and with the firm strength of the resources that we have, that yes, it is true that they have identified in the modern period, last century, but the origin of that lies in the Vedas. Samani akritihi samanena samanihi samiti. Samitihi samani. Samiti is the organized identity. Meaning when you form a social identity, you form a national identity, you form a regional identity, you cluster across something, and you form an organization, and you form a maybe monastery, or in a society you try to develop something new. In that case, you should keep in mind that every element is equal. You are no Raja, you are no Maharaja. You are not the king, not the super kings. You are equal among all the equals. You don't consider yourself as superior in equal among the equals. You are not the superior in equal among the equals. Rather, you are the equal among all the equals in this creation. And it says that you cultivate the same spirit of thing in the human civilization. Try to develop unified thoughts across which you form your institutions and our organizations. Try to develop a sameness of your identity in terms of the philosophical principles of yours, and try to develop something which would create constantly and take you forward on the strength and basis of the same identified objective of your unity. And let all of us together make a prayer to the Supreme, the Divine, to give us the strength and inspiration to maintain it forward and to gauge the new identity and across, and to have more and more and more and more people in this fold of things, meaning let's all spread it across in the world. So this is theory of equality 3. Theory of equality 3. This is 10 by 191 by 3. Big Vedas. Now let's proceed to the fourth principle. Samani vaha akutihi samana hridayani vaha samanam stuvo manaha yatha baha susaha satihi. This means more deeper, intrinsic to any human person. In your heart, also you develop a feeling of equality from within yourself. And if you have developed the feeling of equality for everyone in this world, all these good qualities, compassion, caring, everything will emerge from that. You will have a belonging society, you will have a society which will not have any kind of pyramid structure. It will not develop a pyramid society having the bottoms captured by billions and the crest of that or the top of that, apex of that being for the few. It will not happen. What will happen? It will create a new civilization which would actually offer a justice, fraternity, and equality for everyone. Shavindra has explained, elaborated in his own language to the world. I think that we need to have some understanding of what he has written in the spirit of these 4 verses. The basis of what he has written, I'm going to read out a part of that, and the basis of that is these 4 verses. As written in 8 stanzas, I'm going to read out only the first part of it. This is there in his Triple Gospel, in his the religion of humanity as a part of the work on the humanity. The religion of humanity, and in the work of humanity, he gives the caption, the ideal of human humanity. The religion of humanity must be based on love, mutual recognition of human brotherhood, a living sense of human oneness, and practice of human oneness in thought, feeling, and works of life. This ideal was expressed some thousands of years ago in the ancient Vedic hymn, Big Vedas 10:191, and must always remain the highest injunction of the spirit within us to human life, us to humanize the human life on earth. Till that is brought about, the religion of humanity remains unaccomplished. Yet is brotherhood the real key of the triple bottom line or triple gospel of equality, liberty, and fraternity? Stands the idea of human unity. The union of liberty and equality can only be achieved by the power of human brotherhood, and it cannot be founded on anything else. But brotherhood exists only in the soul, and it can be understood by the soul. It can exist by nothing else. But this brotherhood is not a matter of either of physical kinship or vital association of the intellectual agreement. When the soul claims freedom, it is the freedom, its self-development, the self-development of the soul is the divinity within man in all his entire being. So this is the ultimate voice. Many sages have identified the voice of India, the spirit of India, the soul of India. It is not for any individual to achieve and attain for his or her own personal gains and objectives. It is rather something which is needed for every individual on earth. And for that matter, every individual must look into this from the perspective of what the person is actually deluged in or got entangled in or is engaged in. Whatever we talk about and thought about, think about, we have the fragments in our mind. And the fragments take us to a minimal self and restricts our consciousness to visualize and to be on par with the maximal self. Now, this has been explained by many scholars also. For example, Radha Kumar Mukherjee, Radha Kamal, Rajendranath Shil, in the last early part of the last century, some of them had mentioned about the ancient education system in India and ancient civilization of India. The foundation principles of that has been narrated by Dr. Radhakrishnan, Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, in his principal Upanishads, in the fragmented way as and when his thoughts of Upanishads are developing, and he's mentioning that. And the concept, basically fundamental one, is the basic intrinsic divinity in human being, and to identify that basic intrinsic humanity, the sages have talked about things from various angles, and these are the thoughts which make the life begin with the principle of righteousness. The principle of righteousness, which has been coined, this principle of righteousness is actually the principle where Lord Krishna actually mentions to Arjuna in the form of the Daivi Guna. And the Daivi Guna that he mentions, he says that these are actually derived from the principles which are made to exist within an individual human being, but again, that are not available in the surface of the human person. On the surface, things are there which are acquired, derived. But is it really truly derived? can it be actually derived? Let's take a recent scientific idea. I'm talking about a scientific idea which has been developed only in 2022. 2022 is by Gregory Barnes. He writes the self-delusion. I'm sorry, self-delusions. And from Atlanta, he's writing. His previous work was very remarkable. He's a neuroscientist. His work on the mind of the animals. His work on mind of the pet animals. He's mentioned about done a study on some pet dogs of various types and some birds of some types, and have come to the conclusion that when the pet animals are kept as a pet, then there is a reciprocity of transfer of consciousness. Some of the things which are there followed by a human being in his or her lives as a kind of practice is understood by the pet and taken by the pet. They are more eager to understand that. On the other hand, the household of the pet animals or the master of the pet animal develops a kind of, through law of association, kind of association with the pet and draws and imbibes the habits or the intrinsics of the pets to a large extent. So it's reciprocal. At times the pet becomes habituated with some of the human norms, and on the other hand, the human being gets associated with some of the pet norms. And the conclusion that Gregory Barnes comes to is that the learning appetite of the pet is more than the human being. So pet tries to learn more, but the learning, occurrence of learning, the speed, the velocity, the vector of the learning of the pet is much lower than the invisible learning that occurs in the human person. So in a short while, the impact of the pet culture on the master of the house is more than the impact of the human culture on the pet in the master's house. And thereby, he says that it's actually orientation to the society's orientation to bring the human consciousness closer to the animal consciousness. I'm not saying whether it's down or up, but closer. Now, Gregory Barnes has done some study on the neuroscientific, applying the neuroscientific methods along with a team, and has come to a conclusive point on certain aspects. His conclusive points, I'll just read out only a few lines. It's not a stretch to believe that our memories can be inaccurate, modeled by other people's accounts and past experiences. More surprising is that even our instantaneous perceptions are fraught with inaccuracies. Inaccuracies. We see what we expect to see, including in ourselves. Now, in the behavioral marketing, has developed a consumer thought, that consumer expectations. How do you understand the consumer expectation, mind of a consumer? Because it's very important for a company to understand the mind of a consumer in order to push in the market the right kind of products or design the right kind of services for the market. So, how to understand the consumer mind? Now, there is a method which makes the understanding of the consumer mind better. The method is known as synchronizing with the reflections. For example, you do a reflection of some kind, mirror imaging, or a kind of reflection of some waves, and then you get an idea of that thing within yourself, and your mind is made free without any blockage of the mind, that yes, though I am passing by the market, I'm not going to look at anything that intensely as to buy. I'm not a buyer, I'm an onlooker. And in order to convert the capable or able onlooker to a buyer or to a consumer of the product, customer of the product, what the marketer can do, the marketer is induced to create a kind of reflective mechanism, wherein the reflective mechanism will have a more impact in the mind of the customer, and the objective of the company to get the customer in its own fold would be partially fulfilled. And Gregory says, it is not a stretch to believe that our memories can be inaccurate, modeled by other people's accounts and the past experiences. More surprising is that even our instantaneous perceptions are fraught with inaccuracies. We see what we want to see, including in ourselves. Next, he says, the present you is a sort of machine that converts things happening around it into an internal representation. If you are reading this printed text, photons are striking the page and bouncing into your retinas. If you're listening to this as an audiobook, sound waves are hitting into your eardrums. These physical reactions are transformed into something in your own brain. And what exists in your brain is not a recording of these events, but a highly processed representation of them. It's through the process of perception that these external events are transformed into internal representations. So where the self-delusion of Gregory Barthes is trying to hit at, that what we intend to see, we see. What we intend to hear, we hear. That means what? The mind plays the dominant role in your game of life. Shavinda actually catches on this point. He says that unless you have a transformation in your life, unless you have a transformation from the common materialistic orientation of the mind to a divine orientation of the mind, you cannot understand the cosmic presence of the divine, the cosmic identity of the divine. Now, what is the cosmic identity? This is known as the Supreme Godhead in the form. You can visualize the Supreme Godhead in a formless condition also. The faith which says that it's not possible to see him in the form has to review the thoughts. But again, when it says that you have to get the identity of the Supreme only in formless, that's correct, absolutely correct. But that formless can take any form because he is, almighty, and he can have any forms, and he has created all the forms. So he can make himself available in particular form, and therefore he can be considered in a particular form as well at the same time. This has been mentioned by the Vedic sages as Param Purusha, Vishwamatma Purusha, or the God the Supreme present in this creation as a created object created by himself only. This is in Krishna Yajurveda. Mahan Prabhu Vai Purusha Satyashva Esha Pravartakaha Sunirmalam Imang Prapting Ishana Jyotihi Apvayaha. What is the identity of the Supreme Self or the Supreme form of the Godhead? The identity is he can be conceived and considered in any form or in any identity of any formless condition, and he is the absolute pure. He is having his strength, his power available everywhere, his consciousness available everywhere in this creation. He is like the power of light and the revelations through light. He is the illumination whom can be considered in any way at any point of time from any corner of the world. And if you consider him as your master of life, your life is ordained to his own spirit and principle, and your life gets coordinated in accordance. The next verse. This you will find in Shvetasvatara Upanishad, part 3, verse 12. The next verse says, Angushta Matra Purushaha Antaha Atmaha Sada Jananang Hridaye Sat Nivishtaha Rida Mani Ishaha Manusa Abhiklaptaha Ye Etat Viduhu Te Amrita Bhavantihi. This is again available in Shvetasvatara Upanishad, part 3, the verse 13. Here he is mentioning that supreme soul, that supreme personality, formless or in a form, is present in a minuscule condition within it says Angushta Matra Purusha, in a very, very small condition, very, very small form within the cave of your heart, and it's present in everybody. So whether you accept or not, whether you like or not, whether you have the faith in that or not, whether you understand that or not, whether you wish to consider that or not, doesn't matter. It is there. It is there in the cave of heart, or that means within the deeper core of your heart of every individual. Whether you accept or not doesn't matter. If you accept, you start realizing. If you don't accept, you don't realize. If you accept, you start realizing. And if you realize, then you understand that the qualities which are there as qualities of the noble personality, qualities of a noble personality, you can get those qualities unleashed in yourself. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna has mentioned to Arjuna a set of qualities called Daivi Guna. the qualities pertaining to divinity. When Shavin says that when you engineer the qualities of divinity within, then you get to understand that. You realize that. You have an understanding of that. And the moment you have an understanding of that, you actually become gradually influenced by that. As Gregory Barnes has mentioned in his own scientific study of neurological science just 3 years ago, and puts across saying that it is your volition which makes you happen or makes you like that. As I've mentioned, is in animal consciousness and the human consciousness, he said that the animal which is there as a pet in the house of yours, the animal has got a better eagerness, more intense eagerness, more intense, urge to learn your habits, your things, but the capacity is much less. Therefore, its learning, only superficial learning happens. The intrinsic learning takes a long break, long time. But when the animal is there in your association, the impact of the animal in yours is much higher, sharper, quicker. And therefore, by law of association and by the connection of the human process in the neuroscientific way, it says that neuroscientific understanding of the thing and adoption of the thing or things in association are higher. That's what has been coined by the behavioral marketing people very recently. It's very recent understanding of them, and they're saying that the reflective understanding or reflective realization will be a better realization for a better penetration, for a better understanding of the market. And through that, what we can do is we can have an understanding of the scenario and can induce the buyer, induce the onlooker to a buyer. The person who had a thought that I'll just pass by, I just look around, I'm an onlooker, I'm not going to buy, I'm not going to become a customer or a consumer, and what I want to do, I wish to see the things and later on I'll decide. Now the process of induction through the reflective mechanism would be such that it creates an induction in the person and the person changes the mind. Changes the mind for what? Because of what? Because of the reflective mechanism which has influenced the mind of the person. And the reflective mechanism that influences, that has got a direct power to induce the habit of the person or the law of action. It will actually create an impact on the law of action and the person will be induced to buy. Onlooker turns into buy. Lord Krishna suggests that if you have this kind of induction within yourself, apply your mind to get an acquaintance or to understand certain basic fundamental principles, which are the noble qualities of life. What are those? Is actually mentioned 26 elements of the noble qualities in which are possible to be adopted in human life. It is your volition, it is your wish. Abhaya Sattva Samshuddha. What are the verses? There are 3 verses in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16. The title of the chapter is Devasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, meaning the division of the wealth, the intrinsic wealth of the gods and the demons, and the yoga of adopting that. Now, in the divine principles, it says that there are 26 elements in that. You can pick up any. For example, Abhaya Sattva Sangshuddhi, Jnano Yogo Vyavasthitihi, Nanan Namaha Cha, Jangya Cha, Swadhaya Tapaha, Arjava. Ahimsa satyam akshrodaha shanti apuishunam daya bhuteshu alaluktam mardabam ri ochapalam Tejak shamaha dhriti shaucham abdoho na atimanitaha bhavanti sampadang Duinim ovijatasya varata. He says that these are the divine principles which he suggests are the divine principles of the soul of India. These are the divine principles. Abhaya. This is lack of any fear, fearlessness. Sattva Sakshuddhi, meaning cleansing the intrinsics. Meaning cleanse your intrinsics and become pure within. Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi, meaning Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti is when you are into the focus of wisdom, then you have to have that discipline of the mind which would not have any destruction by anything, anywhere, anytime. And this wisdom shall gradually, accumulate within yourself. You get the wisdom gradually. Dhanam is the giving. Damaha, it is your containing your sense organs so that the sense organs don't deviate from the principle of goodness. Jangya. Jangya is sacrifice, is giving unto the divine sources or giving unto the humanity. Swadhyay. Swadhyay is a self-study. The actual meaning of Swadhyay according to the Vedic principles is the realization by yourself. It has been mentioned by the sages that the realization occurs within yourself with your own effort. It cannot be bought from someone. It cannot be taken or inherited or loaned in from someone. It is yours. Tapaha is tapasya, ascesis. Then Arjavam. Arjavam is the simplicity at the core. Simplicity at the core. We have a lot of examples of Arjavam in our society. There are some people who are really, really simple to the core of them. Then ahimsa. Ahimsa is, not being, in conflict with anything and not having that as your mental frame as well. Satya, the supreme truth, Brahma Satya, meaning the truth in the ultimate form, you try to understand the truth. Then akshrodaha, non-anger, not to be angry, containing your anger. Then tag, meaning is the giving up without any expectation, without any expectation in return, giving something. Then shanti is the poise, peace and poise together. Then apoishunam, not to be engaged in the demeaning of others. Then daya is is being favorable to being your mind should be pleading for the cause of others, to support others, and to have a favorable mind, a mind of which has got a compassion for others, kind of that. Then Uteshu alaluptam, non-greed, not at all having any kind of greed or desire from within. Then Mardavam. Mardavam is not to be, cruel to anything. Then Hri is, not to be engaged in any kind of bad works which are recognized as bad work. Then Achapalam, not to be that much of only speak only those things, speak out those things only which are essential and which have got meaningful and good for humanity. Teja, the power. Your power, you gather your power, concentrate on your power, and apply your power to good things only. Shamaha, you have a power of tolerance, create the power of tolerance. Dhriti, you have to have the patience. Patience in life is very important. Then Shaucham is, always be clean in your mind. Never have anything or indulge anything which can create a dirtiness in your mind. Adroha, meaning not create, don't consider anyone as your enemy and not be enmity to, not become in enmity with somebody else. Utimanata, don't think that you are so great, greater than everybody in the world. Always think that you are one amongst all. So this is, something which is known as, Daivi Guna or the divinely principles. The opposite of few. There are hundreds in the opposite. Demonic principles. Let's have a few, as Lord Krishna has mentioned, Arjuna, that let's not indulge into the lastness of this, demonic principles. However, some of the highlighting should be kept in mind so that we are not caught in by that. Damba datpaha vimana cha krodho parushyam eva chaha adhyana vijatasya partha sampada asuri. These are the last part of that. Now, what are those? These things are like, you have got a Damba datpa, meaning the emphatic ego, the revelations of the emphatic ego in any form, or a kind of, it's not an anger, but again, if you dissociate yourself from the divinely principles, then gradually you get into anger and gather anger within yourself. And the process of that has got many steps. So avoid that in the beginning. Don't get, Parusham is to be harsh on others, not to be harsh on others. And ignorance, jnana, ignorance is not having the knowledge and the understanding of the God, the Supreme. Ignorance meaning you don't have the knowledge of the Supreme, knowledge of God. And these are a few. And let us take a highlight of any of the demonic principles, as Lord Krishna has mentioned to Arjuna, that Krudad Bhavati Sammoha Sammohat Smriti Vibhramaha Smriti Brangshat Buddhi Nashaha Buddhi Nashat Pranashat. This is there in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 63. What does it say is that, if you do something with an anger in mind, then the anger creates the delusions within yourself. And, the delusions, would gradually lead you to, the condition of when you don't have any memories or stock of memories or connection with your memories. And when your memories are lost, your intellect fails to perform in the best way or in the right manner, and therefore never get into the cluster of the anger. And the intellect lost means your life is lost. Life without the basic fundamental intellect of life is a life not living life. It's a life that is not really lived properly, or life not maintained properly. So what happens is, when you are into these kind of things, Lord Krishna has suggested that get rid of them at the beginning. What is the way to get rid of, how to get rid of this? The most important and the easiest form of getting rid is cultivate in your mind. As Gregory Burns has mentioned very correctly, that your mind, you are not, when you are seeing something, looking at something, what is happening? The photon particles from your eyes are hitting at the words, written words on the page of a book or something, and it comes back as a reflection back to your retina. When it comes back to a retina, it's a sensitive platform, and the sensitive membrane of that, it carries the passes on immediately within a very very small fragment of a second to the brain, and the brain now cultivates that, creates the answer to that, and then brain responds to that through an understanding. So creates an understanding of what is there over there. Like this, when you have the auditory meters and actually the sound waves hitting at your membrane of the ear, and the sound waves are passed on through the meters to the inside, and then it goes to the brain, and the brain solves it and creates the sound to a meaningful word or meaningful thing, and you hear the thing. So all this take place in such a small part of a second that we fail to understand the duration of having it happened in ourselves. So what is the fundamental thing here? The basic fundamental thing is your mind has to be cultivated for things which you want to see, which you want to art, which you want to learn, which you want to possess, which you want to become. If I am aware of that, Avisha, there is a point which has been mentioned in ancient Indian civilization, and is very important, relevant in the modern scientific era, which says that aspiration for the right thing. Avisha meaning is an aspiration. But aspiration for what? Not for you to become a king, but for you to understand the Supreme. And this understanding of the Supreme happens when you have got an aspiration for the understanding of the Supreme Divine within yourself. And the aspiration would take you to the point of the consciousness, which would actually bring to you the clarity about the process of attaining that, and you follow the process, you attain. So what happens in that? You have a Atmar Jagaran. In Bengali, it can be mentioned Atmar Jagaran. Atmar Jagaran কিভাবে হবে? Atmar Jagaran হবে আত্মাই জীবনের ধারক, আত্মাই প্রাণের প্রদীপ, জীবনের শক্তি, আত্মাই জীবনের কারণ, প্রাণের প্রেরণা, মনের শক্তি, আত্মাই সব জ্ঞানের উৎস, আত্মাতেই নিহিত রয়েছে সব জ্ঞানের অবস্থান, আত্মায় রয়েছে অনন্ত শক্তির উৎস, অনন্ত শক্তির সম্ভার, সীমাহীন আনন্দ রয়েছে নিহিত আত্মার গভীর অন্তঃপুরে, আত্মার জ্ঞানের অভ্যন্তরে রয়েছে লুকিয়ে সব জানা অজানা জ্ঞানের উৎস, আত্মার সুপ্ত অবস্থা থেকে জাগ্রত অবস্থায় আসতে পারে যদি আত্মার কাছে আসে তেমন আহ্বান অভিপ্সা. When you have got the aspiration to have the realization of God and you place it within to your intrinsic self, the Atman that's seated within, the God Supreme seated within yourself in a very, very minuscule form, in infinitesimally small form, and that carries the entire power and strength of the Supreme within yourself, you can revive. You can have the revitalization of that within yourself. And the moment you have that, then you have a realization of the Supreme. With this realization of the Supreme, you know yourself. Knowing yourself is very important, the true self of yours. As Socrates had identified Natishyatan as the basis of his life, Natishyatan, know yourself. Know yourself, what was the indication that he used to give to the word indication is know your intrinsic self, know your, the true self, which is the divine self seated within. The divine self seated within, the moment we create an understanding of that, যখন আমরা জানতে পারবো যে অন্তরে তিনি বসে আছেন, অন্তরে ভগবান স্বয়ং একটি ক্ষুদ্র আকারে অবয়বে হৃদয় গুহার মধ্যে অবস্থান করে আছেন। তাকে যখন আমরা বুঝতে পারবো, জানতে পারবো, তার দিকে মন যখন ফিরে আসবে তার দিকে, তখন আমরা ক্রমাগত ভাবে তার অনুভব, অনুভূতি, উপলব্ধি পেতে শুরু করব। আর যেমন যেমন অনুভব, উপলব্ধি এবং আমাদের মধ্যে আসবে, তেমন তেমন চেতনার জাগরণ ঘটবে। এবং চেতনার এই জাগরণ থেকে মানুষটির মধ্যে দৈবিক গুণের সূচনা হবে, একটা নিউ সিভিলাইজেশন। ভারতের আত্মা সেই নতুন সভ্যতার করতে পারে। ভারতের আত্মার কাছে রয়েছে সেই নতুন সভ্যতার আহ্বান। The soul of India is there crying for the entire humanity to create and establish the universality through the equality, fraternity, and freedom for everybody on earth without any discrimination, without any distinction, without any separation. We wish and want that to happen. And the moment this goes to happen, the moment it happens in our civilization, the moment it's created or it's initiated in this civilization, the civilization turns into a divinely civilization. That's the transformation of the existing civilization into a superior one. হে প্রভু সচ্চিদানন্দ পর্যন্ত সনাতন, এমন দিকে মানুষের মনোযোগ আসুক। হে প্রভু। We should now do the Vedic chanting. আমরা এখন বেদমন্ত্র পাঠ করবো, সবাই পার্টিসিপেট করো। ॐ वाग्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता, मनः मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठिता।
वाग्मे मनोषि प्रतिष्ठिता मनवे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम्
मेधि वेदस्य मानिसः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहसिः।
वेदश्यामानिष्टः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहस्यः।
अनेन ऋतेन अहोरात्रा संदधामि। ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि।
ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि।
मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु।
माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु।
अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम्।
अवतु माम् वक्तारम्। अवतु वक्तारम्।
शांति शांति शांति।
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
आपयन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणचक्षुः।
आपयन्तु प्राणचक्षुः।
मातः बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि।
श्रुतमातः बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि।
ब्रह्मोपनिषदाम्
सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम्।
अहं ब्रह्म निरकुर्यात् मम ब्रह्म निरकरोत्।
माहं ब्रह्मा
माहं ब्रह्म
निरकार्यं ब्रह्म निरकारो
निराकरणमस्तु निराकरणं मे अस्तु
निराकरणमस्तु निराकरणं मे अस्तु
कर्मसे मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु
धर्मासे मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः
ॐ पूर्णमादः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते
ॐ
पूर्णमदः
पूर्णमदः
पूर्णमिदं
पूर्णमिदं
पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते
शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ
ॐ शान्ति
शान्ति
शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ सहनो आवतु सहनो भुनातु
ॐ शानवतु शानो भुनक्तु
वीर्यं कर्वावहै
वीर्यं करवावहै
तेजस्वी नो अधितमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
तेजस्विनो
तेजस्विनो
तमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शं मित्रः शं वरुणः शं नो भवति अर्यमः
ॐ शां न मित्रः शां वरुणः शां नः भवति अर्यमः
शं नो इन्द्रः बृहस्पतिः शं नो विष्णुरुक्रमः
शां न इन्द्रियः बृहस्पतिः शां न विष्णुरुक्रमः
नमः ब्रह्मणे नमः देवाय
नमः ब्रह्मणे नमः देवाय
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि
तमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मयसि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
तमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
ईदं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
रीतं वदामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
तमामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु
मां भवतु तद्वक्तारं भवतु
आवतु मामवतु वक्तारम्
भवतु
भवतु मामवतारम्
शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः
भद्रं कर्णे विष्णवां देवा
ॐ भद्रं भद्रं
आयु
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Om
Om
Shanti
Shanti Shanti Shanti.
We shall now do a meditation for 2 minutes. Second 2 minute and Shavai. All of us together will do meditation sitting at our respective place. 2 minutes meditation. Jai Ma, Jai Ma. We are closing here. আমাদের আজকে এখানে আমরা শেষ করছি। সবাই ভালো থাকবেন। উইশ ইউ অল দ্য বেস্ট। সবাই ভালো থাকবেন। আগামী রবিবার আমাদের এই সেশনটি হচ্ছে না। দুর্গাপুজোর সময় যে একটি রবিবার আমাদের সেশন বন্ধ থাকে, আগামী রবিবার বন্ধ থাকবে। আর আগামী মঙ্গলবার যেদিন মহাষ্টমীর দিন সকালে সকালে 4:30 থেকে 6:15 আমাদের চণ্ডী প্রণাম হবে, যেমন প্রতি বছর হয়। 4:30 to 6:15 চণ্ডী প্রণাম আগামী মঙ্গলবার সকালে। রবিবারের সন্ধ্যার প্রোগ্রামটি হবে না, সেই পরিবর্তে মঙ্গলবার ভোরের প্রোগ্রামটি হবে। মঙ্গলবার ভোরের চণ্ডী প্রণাম আপনারা মেসেজ সবাই পেয়ে যাবেন। তার সঙ্গে যে মন্ত্র সংহিত পাঠ হবে সেই মন্ত্রগুলো পেয়ে যাবেন। সবাই আগে একটু দেখে নিলে ভালো হবে, তাহলে পাঠের সময় সুবিধা হবে। আমরা ঠিক 4:25 আমরা আমরা অন হয়ে যাব, আর 4:30 থেকেই একদম শুরু হয়ে যাবে। যাদের ইচ্ছা আছে চণ্ডী প্রণামে কালেক্টিভলি জয়েন করার, they should have their shower and then join. আর তাছাড়া এমনি সবাই জয়েন করতে পারে, সবাই জয়েন করবে, যার ইচ্ছা আছে জয়েন করবে। আর যদি সমবেত মন্ত্রে এই করতে চান তাহলে ট্রাই টু কালেক্ট ওয়ান ফ্লাওয়ার, যে কোনো একটা ফুল কাছে রাখলে ভালো হবে। আর স্নান করে নিলে ভালো হবে। আর যদি অসুবিধা হয় দেন ইউ পার্টিসিপেট অ্যাজ ইউ উইশ। আগামী রবিবার বন্ধ, তার পরিবর্তে মঙ্গলবার সকালে 4:25 আমরা মিলব চণ্ডী প্রণাম। সবাই ভালো থাকবেন। উইশ ইউ অল দ্য বেস্ট।
প্রণাম স্যার।
Honorable Chair, Pranam, sir. Touching your holy feet, sir. Pranam.